this. All right, everybody, welcome in. It's Marauder Monday, Marauder Morning. I forget what my own show is called sometimes, but whatever it is, you're watching it or you're listening to it. And I say you might be watching it because for the first time ever, we've got ourselves on camera. We braved it out. We all showered, presumably. We all washed our faces, and now we're on camera because this is streaming on YouTube. It's not streaming. It's going up on YouTube. You can watch it there, youtube.com/Marauder Morning. I'll put a link to it on our website, cfmu.ca, on our show page. So please, if you have the time, go check us out on YouTube. You can see our faces, and if that helps you at all, if you want a little visual guide. So there's that news. Just a couple things to hit on before we get into our regular sports analysis. Oh, I should say, my name is Duncan, and I'm joined, as always, by Ryan and Mark. Guys, why don't you say hello?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining us once again. So just before we get to our sports analysis, a couple things to hit on, McMaster related. I promised everyone that we would get to McMaster news when it presents itself, so here we go. Both pieces are a little bit emotionally downwards, so prepare yourself for that. First up, David Braley passed away just recently, a McMaster alumni and a foundation in the McMaster community. David Braley donated a lot of buildings on campus. Students may know him for the David Braley Athletic Center, which is, houses our gyms and all the things like that. But well known in Canadian sports, he owned the Argonauts. He owned my hometown BC Lions for a while, and of course owned the Hamilton Tiger Cats way back when. So David Braley, the McMaster community is feeling for that loss. We don't have any analysis or anything for this. We just wanted to give our respect and pay our dues to a great member of the McMaster community. And then the second piece of news is, you may have seen this, an article came out just a few days ago. My dad texted it to me at around midnight just a couple days ago, so I had to read that just before bed. It is a CBC article that I highly encourage everyone to go check out about a report that was recently completed on the experience of students of color in the Marauders athletic program, and what they found was not so good, to say the least. We're not going to go through the whole article right now. We're not going to propose any solutions or anything like that. I don't have any extra information other than what is in the CBC article, so please go check out that article. We'll let everyone make informed decisions for themselves because people are smart. But other than that, guys, I had you read this article. It's a little upsetting. We all are proud of our school and all that, so it's hard to see things like that. Ryan, I know you had something else you wanted to relate this to, so why don't you go ahead with that?
So after reading that, upsetting to say the least, all I could think about was an article that came out a couple days earlier about Arizona fourth round draft pick Mitchell Miller continuously bullied schoolmate Isaiah Meyer Crothers, who is a black student with developmental disabilities, and it's not like he was doing it when he was younger and had no awareness of it. He was doing it until he was 14, and I mean, there's no room for racism in the world, and especially not sports. So.
No, and we won't linger on this too long. Obviously, it's a terrible thing if it's true. Obviously we want to side with the athletes and things like that. We don't have any confirmation, so we'll just say, if true, just to kind of cover our bases there. But you're right, there is no place for this. So yeah, I just wanted to refer everyone to that CBC article. That's really where you can get all your information. I'm sure if you look up McMaster CBC, you'll find the article there. So that's all we're going to do on that. Just real quick, a couple McMaster pieces of news out of the way. But with that being said, let's move in to our first real topic of the show. This is we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans because they got in a little bit of trouble just recently for their COVID-19 violations. Um, they had a couple games postponed just in the past couple weeks because they were found to have a bunch of positive tests. I think about half their team was down with coronavirus at one point or another. And now they're facing the fine for it. Only a $350,000 fine, which is a lot of money. But when it comes to sports teams, is not a lot of money. So I was kind of surprised by how small that was. But we're going to kind of take this conversation into a wider scope because there's a bunch of teams now coming down. The Buffalo Bills, as one example, their tight end Dawson Knox tested positive. And now the way the NFL is doing it is if someone in your position group tests positive, the whole position group has to sit out until they're confirmed negative. This happened with the Raiders offensive line we talked about last week. First of all, guys, I'll ask you, what did you think of the penalty for the Tennessee Titans, completely disregarding the NFL's COVID-19 policies, only being fined $350,000? Mark, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising, given that the NFL is pretty strict with their policies. Yeah, like given the salary cap and everything, I would assume that surrounding this topic of like COVID, they'd be pretty serious to buckle down and kind of let the league know like we're serious about this. So I think the fine was a little low. I feel like if they want to make a point, like fine them a lot where they wouldn't think about doing it again. So those are my thoughts.
Ryan?
Yeah, 350,000 to them is like $5 to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you see a fine like that, it's not gonna make a difference as like a $10 million fine or like taking away a draft pick or something like that would do it. And I mean, like clearly something needs to be going on because I mean COVID cases just keep coming and coming. So
yeah, I mean, when this was first all kind of happening, what you heard floated around was, tons of draft picks are going to be taken away. It's going to be the biggest fine for a team in NFL history. And then it kind of comes down to this, where it's a third of the size of the fine the Patriots got for deflating footballs, which really didn't affect anything. I find it curious. I think maybe the Tennessee Titans got involved somewhere along the process, maybe found a hole in the investigation, and so the NFL had to back off a little. But this is a bad look for the NFL to me. It's just kind of them going, okay, we have to penalize you because you did something wrong. But I mean, this is so serious. We've talked about this every week on our show, just how poorly the NFL is doing, and it looks bad from a PR standpoint. So I don't know why they wouldn't want to slam the Titans for this one. And some of the other teams, the Raiders, they were all found to be going out to charity events together, not wearing masks or anything. No fines for those guys. No draft picks taken away. So the NFL really needs to, buck up and start throwing down some serious gauntlets to these teams because nothing's going to change unless there's some serious consequences.
And today I just read about the Texans. They closed their facility.
That's right.
And there's 19 new cases.
Yeah.
In the NFL. So I mean, clearly it's not getting better.
No, it's not getting better, and it seems to be this kind of wait and see attitude from the NFL, which I just don't get. And inevitably, I think this conversation for us is just going to circle back around to the NFL needs a bubble. And it needs it sooner rather than later. We talked about this last week. We talked about it the week before and the week before that. Guys, do you have any new thoughts on the NFL bubble? What do you think the urgency level is to get this done right now?
Well, just looking at like the Justin Turner incident, and given that like they were also in a bubble and he still somehow tested positive.
That's true.
Yeah, that was a little weird. So it kind of makes you question whether or not like a bubble is well, obviously a bubble is going to make a difference, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, whether it's worth it. I know it's a lot of money to create a bubble, so those are just like thoughts the league has to think about.
Yeah. No, there's a lot going on, and I certainly want to give the NFL credit for being able to pull off a season at all. Um, but also they've got to do it the right way. We're going to talk about Justin Turner coming up. We're going to hit on the World Series. We're going to kind of recap it just a little. So we'll get to Justin Turner, like you mentioned. But he's an outlier, and to me, he had to have done something outside of the scope of that bubble to get infected. Whether he was out doing whatever. I don't want to speculate too much on what he was doing. But NFL, NBA, NHL, NBA, MLB, zero positives, and then Justin Turner, one outlier positive. So across 3 leagues, you've got one positive test through all these bubbles. So it works. It's confirmed, right? The NFL can't kick the can around anymore and say this concept has to be proven to us because it has been proven. So I just don't get the lackadaisical attitude. Do you guys have any idea like what you would do? I don't really have a firm solution. For me, I would like to say just go into a bubble right now, but I understand logistically that isn't going to work. I'd like the playoff bubble idea, but I just don't know if we're going to make it there on time or in a good way. So do you guys have any thoughts or any ideas on how to fix this?
I can't think of any other solution than a bubble, but I mean, I don't know how much you can juggle around a schedule and make all these little changes before you finally just like cancel the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think they're going to cancel the whole thing.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it's the NFL. They're too big to do that. But they've got to do something. And right now, you don't hear anything from them, which I think is not good. We don't have the solutions, but just do something. So I guess that's kind of the extent of that conversation, unless you guys had anything else you wanted to add.
I feel like they're not going to do a bubble. I feel like they expected cases to come up, and they're just going to take them as they come and just keep finding teams.
Yeah, that's
kind
of the feeling I get too. Yeah, that they're not moving at all towards the bubble. They haven't made any of the significant moves. Like with the other leagues, NBA, I remember like weeks beforehand we're hearing, okay, they're going to Orlando, or they're considering Orlando, and X amount of other places. Okay, we're in Orlando. Okay, we're doing this and this and this and this and this, and finally we can play games in the bubble. The NFL has taken 0 of those steps. We heard one article from The Athletic that said they might be interested in LA and Dallas, but that doesn't mean anything at this point. So that's kind of it. We just kind of wanted to shame the Titans for being so stupid, because they were stupid and weren't following any of the protocols. So shame on you, Tennessee Titans. Let's move on then. Aforementioned, we're going to talk about the LA Dodgers. Ryan's got his Dodgers cap on, looking very sharp there, bud.
Thank you.
He's celebrating, of course, the LA Dodgers winning their first World Series since 1988. I will just be upfront and say I did not watch any of the World Series. Did either of you watch a single minute of World Series baseball? Ryan, nodding his head.
I tuned in for a couple games, to be honest, and I was watching that last game. And I seen it 1-0 for a while, and then it was 2-1, and I could just see Snell getting pulled, and he was not happy.
Yeah,
so that's my little.
Let's go to that. Blake Snell, pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. I just don't know what the heck happened here. 6th inning, he's got the hot hand. He's knocking batters down left and right. And just before Mookie Betts, the best hitter for the Dodgers, comes up to the plate, they pull him. I have no idea what happened there. I can't find a reason or a thought or anyone's they just pulled their best pitcher, which seems like a flat out stupid decision. Usually we can have some analysis. Well, they were thinking this, or they wanted to go to this guy, but it didn't really work out. Nope, they just pulled their best guy, and they lost the game. So I guess we're just shaming everyone. Shame on the Tampa Bay Rays too. You guys were stupid also for pulling Blake Snell. I don't want to get too much inside baseball here. I just kind of want to talk about the circumstances surrounding the World Series, because I find that's a lot more fascinating than what actually happened on the baseball diamond. So I'll just say most of my analysis is going to come courtesy of an LA Times article that broke down the whole World Series. So shout out to the LA Times. Thank you for giving me all the information. The LA Dodgers wrapped up the series 4-2, had a little bit of a scare there, but ended up pulling off the victory, ending their 31-year title drought. And I think what's really interesting is they've been to the World Series 3 times in the last 5 years, I want to say. 3 in the last 4, maybe. And have lost twice in 2 of the most awful, upsetting ways you can lose sports. And that is to a cheater. They lost to 2 cheaters, the Boston Red Sox and the Houston Astros, who were both accused, tried, and found guilty of sign stealing in baseball. So they were robbed twice, and now finally they get the World Series victory. Guys, what do you think of those titles holding up for those cheating teams? That's kind of what I want to get into. Should the Dodgers have 3 World Series right now, or should everyone just be allowed to cheat in baseball? Because cheating's been around in baseball forever. And as soon as one way gets ironed out of the game, someone finds a new way to cheat. So do you think they should give the Dodgers 3 World Series for this one, or do you guys just not care? Let's move on.
I don't think they should get 3. I think the teams that won, that cheated, should get them taken away. I feel like it should be like, I don't know, like an asterisk year.
Right.
But yeah, baseball's one of those sports where you can just find new ways to cheat all the time.
There's always some way to cheat.
It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it cheapens the sport. And then the other person I want to shame, I'm just coming out knocking down everyone, is Rob Manfred, or Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, who is a clown. He came out this last summer after the Houston Astros were found guilty of cheating and called the World Series trophy just a piece of metal, which made nobody happy. Sometimes you can say things that make some people happy and some people unhappy. He managed to make everyone unhappy in baseball. And then now he has to stand out on the field and hand that piece of metal to the LA Dodgers, who were cheated out of that piece of metal twice in a row, and he didn't care. And everyone hates Rob Manfred. I hate Rob Manfred. He's a clown. I don't know if you guys know.
I hate him too.
Yeah.
I hate him too.
I don't know if you guys can build off that in any way. That's just more like, seriously, you're gonna come out and call the trophy for your sport a piece of metal as the commissioner?
How'd you get hired? How'd you keep your job?
Yeah, I have no idea how he survived this Houston Astros crap. He fumbled it all the way to the finish line, and I don't know. Yeah, there's some bad sports league commissioners out there, but Rob Manfred, clown.
I don't know how there's physical evidence of the cheating and there's still like nothing.
I know.
Like nothing actually done. Like the Astros shouldn't be the winners. The Red Sox shouldn't be winners. No. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
This Rob guy definitely was picked last in every pickup game growing up. He's like, oh, it's just a game. It's just for fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, what an idiot. And then someone else I wanted to shout out. We're going to do a new segment coming up soon called Fan Favorites, where we get to talk about our favorite things from the week. And Clayton Kershaw would have been my pick if we weren't kind of breaking down the World Series. But man, so happy for Clayton Kershaw. As someone who doesn't follow baseball, I'm still well aware of Clayton Kershaw. 13th season in the league. He's got 3 Cy Young awards. This is his 3rd World Series appearance, and he finally won one. He's one of those guys. It's the John Elway, LeBron James problem, where everyone goes, this team gets to the top of the mountain and loses the final game, and everyone wants to blame the best player on the team. When you look at it and you go, okay, if not for, let's use LeBron James. If not for LeBron James, those early Cavs teams would have been nowhere near the playoffs. But as soon as they get deep into the playoffs and lose, everyone wants to blame LeBron, when it's like they wouldn't have been there in the first place without LeBron. So Clayton Kershaw finally getting off the schneid, winning a World Series. Man, congratulations to him. Big clap up for Clayton Kershaw. I just love these stories. These are some of my favorite stories, when a guy just finally gets the championship and we can just shut up about Clayton Kershaw is no good. I mean, he's awesome. Shut up, everyone. He can play baseball. He can win at a high level. So that's all I just kind of wanted to say. Congratulations to Clayton Kershaw. He was not the MVP. Corey Seager wins MVP. So clap for him as well. And then another person we've got to call stupid. There's a lot of stupid people in baseball, apparently. Justin Turner, Mr. Big Brain. Justin Turner is a player for the LA Dodgers who, this is kind of confusing for some people. People are kind of confused on the timeline. So here's kind of what happened. Justin Turner and every other Dodgers and Rays player gets tested just before the game. And then those tests kind of get tested during the game. And during the game, it was found that he had a positive test. So they pulled him from the game. He wasn't allowed to go back in. And he had to sit out the rest of Game 7, which I'm sure was very upsetting and hard for him. But he had COVID-19. So he shouldn't have tested positive, you bum. But then, as soon as they win the trophy, here's Justin Turner sitting in the middle of the team photo, kissing everybody. He's kissing his wife. He's hugging and licking and spreading his germs everywhere. And, I mean, what an idiot. He's sitting... what? I just want to go, who allowed this to happen? How did they not kick him out of the building, first of all? How did he end up back in the middle of the field? And then how was he allowed to remain there for an extended amount of time, for the whole celebration, without a mask on, spreading his germs everywhere? I don't know. I think a lot of these conversations are me just kind of calling people stupid. I want to give you guys a chance to talk. But what do you think of this Justin Turner thing? It's crazy. Oh, and then one other thing I have to add. After the game, he tweeted out, sorry I couldn't be out with my teammates to celebrate. Justin Turner.
Everyone saw you.
Everyone saw you. There's a photo on the broadcast. You guys can't see it, Mark and Ryan, because you're on Zoom right now. But for everyone watching on YouTube, there's a picture of Justin Turner in the bottom left corner here. He is the most recognizable man on the face of the earth. He has a giant red beard and big giant red hair. And there's photos of him sitting in the middle of the team photo holding the trophy, all big smiles. There's like hundreds of photos of it. And then he tweets out, sorry I couldn't be out there. It's like, what? Do they think we're stupid? I guess that's my question to you guys. Does Justin Turner think we're stupid?
Ryan, do you want to answer that?
Ryan?
So I don't know about that tweet, but I seen another tweet where he was thanking everybody for reaching out, and he was trying to justify, he's like, oh, I feel great, I have no symptoms at all.
What?
And I just watching that as a fan, I don't know how you put that upon yourself. You put yourself in front of the team and you allow yourself to just say, oh, I have it, so why not everybody else have it, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know how he was let back on the field. I don't know how he wasn't escorted home right away. I don't know how how they let any of it happen. But I mean,
Yeah, it's like he's like, oh, well, I have no symptoms. It's like, hey, doofus, like, has nobody told you about the asymptomatic thing? Like,
yeah,
you think these guys would be educated on it by now?
Mm,
But
yeah.
but I guess
I
not.
guess I guess I'm on my own on this one. I don't know. I think it
Oh,
wasn't. No,
dissenting opinion.
well,
oh, oh,
yeah, yeah. I'll just give another opinion. It's not my actual opinion.
Okay.
Totally. He tested positive like the day before the game, correct?
Mhm.
And then the team thought it was a false positive,
That's
and
right.
so he got tested the day of the game,
Hmm.
and his results came back in like the seventh or eighth inning. In a game that he was like already playing in and already like tossing the ball to his teammates and high fives, hugging, kissing, whatever.
Hmm.
And then they told him to leave and like stay in the locker room. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn because he was already around the team throughout that whole day and during the game. Um, and they just won the World Series, something that
Hmm.
I'm sure he's been working towards for his whole life. So
For sure. No,
I
and
think,
yeah,
yeah,
I get what
they
you're
should have
saying.
like at least shipped him out, like taking him
Yeah.
away from the stadium rather than just give him the responsibility to stay in the locker room on his own.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like you leave a 3-year-old in a room with a marshmallow and you say, don't eat the marshmallow. It's like, really? Of
Yeah.
course the kids can eat the marshmallow. Um, Take him away. Who's responsible for this? Someone should have been someone from the league.
Yeah.
First of all, it should have been Justin himself going. I'm just thinking right now of Odell Beckham Jr. Of the Cleveland Browns a couple weeks ago, who thought he had COVID, and he went to the team and he said, "I think I'm sick. I'm not coming in today." Which was a great move. He's protecting his teammates. But Justin Turner's like, woohoo, I want to party. And this could very easily turn into a super spreader kind of type event. There was like 100 people on the field or whatever, and all those people could
Mm.
go spread to 100 other people. So, yeah, just Justin Turner. Come on, man. Um, yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. And then the MLB in general, I just kind of wanted to hit on real quick. I think they're kind of in trouble. One of you guys, was it Ryan, put this note in. They lost $3.1 billion during the pandemic. And, a lot of that has to do with quick reshuffling the schedules, no fans. But I think where you get the 3.1 with a B is having to compete with the NFL and the NBA. And to me, my initial thought, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this. If the MLB ever has to compete with the NFL or the NBA again, they are dead. If this becomes a regular thing for them, where they're having to compete with those other two sports, there is no airspace for the MLB left. Not enough people care. I think I saw a stat a while back that their average viewership age is 65, which is not good. That's not what you want. In case that's a quick lesson in demographics, you don't want your main audience to be 65 plus. No offense to the 65 plus group, but you are not the key demographic. So I don't know. What do you guys just think of that, about that statement I just made? Any thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So like main revenue for the MLB is like fan revenue, like stadium
Mm-hmm.
revenue, like people coming to games. Like baseball is a terrible sport to watch on TV. So
Awful.
boring. And if you have to compete with football and basketball, given like the athletes that they have in the leagues right now, and it was like playoff season as well,
Yeah.
like no one's gonna watch that. And if they have to compete with them for the rest of the future years,
No.
yeah, we might be watching college baseball instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Um,
know if we'll be watching college baseball, but
yeah.
yeah, Ryan.
I don't think they'll die because I think there's enough fans to keep them going, maybe.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think they're going to do well either. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just thought it was wild because there actually was fans for that for like the
Mhm.
last bit of the MLB season. So I thought that was wild too. But
Yeah, that was interesting. They started letting just kind of a few people in, like the NFL has. which I don't mind. I think there's ways to do that properly. I think there are ways to do that. But the MLB better figure out a way to schedule their season where they are not overlapping with those other two sports. The NHL, I find, kind of exists in its own world, and you don't really get much overlap in the fandom, just kind of in my personal experience. But I find like baseball and football have a lot of overlap in the people that watch. So yeah, I just think baseball's in a bit of a predicament there. Yeah, that's kind of all I want to say about the World Series. Guys, any more thoughts on World Series or baseball? Ryan, you actually watched it, so
Yeah.
Fire Rob.
Fire Rob Manfred. Yeah. So that was we'll call that segment Dodger Talk, and we'll move on to our next one. Coming up next, we're gonna talk, have a little open conversation about athletes and the final stages of their careers, what they do towards their twilight. This is just kind of a discussion period. We had a couple people in mind we kind of wanted to talk about. You'll see in the bottom left corner of your video screen if you're watching on YouTube. We've got Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, LeBron James, three very different examples of what happens towards the end of a guy's career. Ryan, I know this conversation was kind of sparked by your viewing of Tiger Woods just this past week. What did you see from Tiger that wanted to spark this conversation?
So Tiger was the former champion at the Zozo Championship. So I was expecting him to repeat that and defend his title. But just watching it, he's still an amazing player.
Mm-hmm.
He's still hitting some great shots, putting up some decent scores. And I mean, he's 44 and he's still able to compete with a lot of the younger guys. So I just thought it was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen him a couple times, here and there over the past couple years, and to me, he's kind of up and down. Obviously, he's had those terrible back injuries, and he's come back from a lot of stuff. But I find it really interesting, and then kind of contrast that with Tom Brady, a guy who's up around that age, 43 years old, who to me looks as good or better than he has in years. His arm still looks fresh. He's still moving okay. I find Tom Brady to be kind of an interesting case, especially contrasted with Tiger Woods. Tom Brady has had some serious injuries. He tore his ACL back in 2008, but I think he actually came back better from that injury. I think he spent a lot of time during that year off getting a lot better, and he's had this interesting second half to his career. Mark, what do you think? Maybe you can kind of talk about the LeBron James example.
With Brady, I think Brady and LeBron both think nutrition and just stuff off the field just plays a huge part into how they continue to stay in shape to play in these professional leagues at such an old age. I mean, like 43 playing in the NFL, like that's unheard of almost.
Unbelievable.
And to be like performing at the level that he's performing at, it's crazy. I think with LeBron, like a lot of it is his recovery, nutrition, training. I think that plays a huge role, especially the older you get.
Absolutely. I heard J.R. Smith was on a podcast. I can't remember which one it was. But J.R. Smith was on a podcast a little while back, and he said LeBron James spends $2 million every year on his body. And I think that's kind of what you got to do. Like, when you get up to this age, or that age that LeBron is at for an NBA player, you see a lot of guys in the NFL too. I think like Ben Roethlisberger is one of the most hilarious examples. He missed all of last year with an elbow injury, and he said for the first time in his career he worked out in the off season. And Ben Roethlisberger looks like he doesn't work out in the off season. So it's interesting. Some guys just kind of stumble and flop their way to the end, taking on injuries, and then you got guys like Tom Brady and LeBron James. Can you guys think of anyone else out there who's had really good longevity?
I know Joe Thornton.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting up there. Newest Maple Leaf signing. Yeah, he's 41.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's still kicking around and he's still competing. I know Yager a couple years ago. He was
Yager. That's who I was just going to
really
go to.
old and he was still in the league.
He's still
But
playing.
I think, yeah, he's still playing in Europe somewhere.
Let me look him up.
And
Yager.
I think as an athlete, I think your biggest investment is in yourself. So I mean, if you have all the money in the world to buy nice cars, buy nice houses, and all that stuff, why not put some of that money back into you so you can continue the career?
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
And Jaromir
The crazy
Jagr
thing
is sorry, Mark. I'll let you go in a sec. Jaromir Jagr is 48 years old.
Yo, what?
He's still playing. He's playing for HC Bozen Bolzano. In where do they play?
That's crazy.
Oh man, they play in Italy. So he's playing in Italy right now, Jaromir Jagr. So that's kind of another thing you can do. You see that a lot in basketball. Guys kind of end up in China towards the end of their career. Maybe not some of the bigger guys. And then Jaromir Jagr, you can just kind of slip off to Europe and collect a paycheck.
Yeah, what I was going to say about like Brady and LeBron is that it's crazy that they're still performing at the same level, like playing the same way as they were when they were younger. Like you look at older players in the NBA, they often have to switch their play style.
Absolutely.
Like, if they were like slashers, they have to turn into shooters just because they can't move. And so it's even more crazy to think about. Like LeBron is still like pushing people around and like moving people.
Yeah, but LeBron has evolved, and so is Tom. Tom Brady. Tom Brady's kind of become. You don't think of him as a mobile guy, but he used to run around behind the line a lot, and now he's more of a stand-up passer. LeBron has become basically a point guard, a distributor of the ball. You remember him in Miami as kind of a, attack the rim kind of player, and he still does that, but he's way more of a distributor. I think of Dirk Nowitzki a few years ago. He got old in a hurry, and his knees became dust, and he's like, fine, I'm 7 foot, I can shoot, and I'll just stand over here and rain it down on you from anywhere on the court. And this is kind of a side note, but I think that's why Kevin Durant is going to be okay after this Achilles injury. He's kind of going into that twilight of his career. He's 31 now, I believe, maybe 32. So he's going into that probably final few years of his career. I think maybe him and Kyrie have like 3 or 4 years in them in Brooklyn. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him coming off that injury. But I think Dirk Nowitzki is kind of a good example to where you can change your game, and if you're a good shooter in the NBA, you can kind of just stand anywhere and shoot. You don't have to be entirely healthy. Any other examples that kind of pop into your guys' head?
For me, I think it's crazy that you still see LeBron attacking the rim it's his first year in the league. Mm-hmm. And I know a pretty relevant example with Kobe. I know he was a pretty athletic basketball player, and he kind of transferred his game into like 3-point shooting and the mid-range game, and so.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Michael had kind of very similar arcs. Michael Jordan, of course, I'm referring to. They started their careers as just kind of insane highlight reel. I'm gonna dunk all over you. Kobe had the benefit of Shaq to kind of balance that out a little bit. Michael, at the beginning of his career, had the benefit of Charles Oakley. But they both kind of evolved into more ball hog shooters, play creators, whereas beginning of their career they just kind of went at the rim. So I think a big part of this is just that we've kind of landed on is evolving your game. I know we started with Tiger Woods, we kind of got away from that. I don't know how you evolve your golf game per se. I think at the end of the day you're still gonna have to torque your back all the time. Maybe I'm just not well versed enough in my golf. But maybe let's just bring it back to Tiger. What do you think is the model moving forward for Tiger? I mean, we've seen guys like Jack Nicklaus and I don't know, several other guys who are like Arnold Palmer golfed until he was like 75 years old. Um, you can kind of just find like tournaments and tours and stuff to keep on doing forever and ever. That's kind of the benefit to those individual sports like golf, because there's going to come a time where LeBron and Tom Brady are just too old to play, and they're just too beaten down to play in their respective leagues. But Tiger could keep finding crap to get paid for forever and ever and ever. He just has to go, make an appearance and make a little handshake. So I think it's a little easier for Tiger maybe to make that transition. What do you guys think of that?
I think for Tiger, I think it's just about time for him to join the championship tour or the Champions Tour.
The Seniors Club.
The Seniors Club. You've seen Phil Mickelson doing it, and he's ripping it up down there. So I mean, I think it's just inevitable that Tiger will end up there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just trying to drag on his career up there for as long as he can. But I mean, when you were saying like evolving your game in golf, I follow Bryson DeChambeau on Instagram, and that guy is constantly changing his game. And he posted a picture the other day, and he hit a ball 400 yards.
Ooh.
And I was just thinking about it. And the change he made was making his shaft longer, which allows you to get more power behind the ball and everything like that. And
he also added 40 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, he did that too.
Also got jacked.
Yeah.
So,
Bryson DeChambeau, a guy we've talked about on the show. I don't know. I don't see Tiger adding 40 pounds of muscle though. And
definitely not.
With those back injuries, just, I think you lose so much power off like your torque. Like you just got to torque your back so much.
I actually read up on all of his back injuries, and he blames running. He ran a lot at the beginning of his career, and he said it worked for him for a bit, and then as he got older, his body, his back, his knees just started to...
Running is a lot of impact, right?
Yeah.
It's high impact activity. Well, whatever's going on. What do you guys think of the... we're going to get into our draft a little later of our favorite comeback stories, but what do you think of the Tiger Woods redemption arc? Do you think he's redeemed himself?
I think he put a lot of the rumors and all that garbage that he was going through a couple of years ago to rest. I think he's over that. I think he's back to the Tiger that he once was. But I just think with all the young players coming up, I just think he's ready for the Champions.
Ready to move on.
Sure.
All right. Let's get moving. We're getting a little short on time. We just got to move on a little bit. So we'll do that. We're going to move into that new segment I teased a little bit ago. And sorry to anyone watching on YouTube. I know our graphics are a little, our heads are a little bit out of place, but I'm doing the graphics live as we're doing the show. So cut me some slack, please. But this is Fan Favorites, our new segment. I'll go to Mark first. He kind of, this had nothing to do with me. Mark kind of had the idea. He wanted to talk about DK Metcalf. Sorry, I just kind of spoiled your pick. He wanted to talk about DK Metcalf's play. And we couldn't really find a segment to do it in, so we made this one up. Ryan came up with the name, and here we are. So we're just going to each talk about a thing in sports that we saw this week that we liked. Mark, I'll just go to you first, since this was your idea.
Yeah, mine, I mean, if people haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to check out DK Metcalf's chase down tackle. I hopped on Instagram, I saw it, I watched it probably like 12 times. Yeah. It's so crazy. Like he's 6'4", like 230 pounds. And he just, like he saw the guy, picked it off and just booked it. Yeah, it was wild.
First of all, you have to watch the video. There's no way to appreciate this without seeing the video of but DK Metcalf at 6'4", 220 plus chases down a guy named Budda Baker, who's 5'9", like 205 or less than that. And DK Metcalf chased him down. I mean, it was just, I was watching the game live. It was Sunday Night Football, Seahawks at Cardinals, and my jaw just hit the floor. I was laughing, and it was awesome. It's just kind of the effort play you love to see in sports, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of LeBron in his chase down
DeAndre
blocks.
Iguodala chase down block in the
Yep.
finals. Yeah. No, it's one of those plays where, you know, if you explain to an athlete like to DK Metcalf what his duties are on the field, chasing a guy 90 yards and tackling him is not in his list of duties. And for LeBron, chasing Andre Iguodala all the way down the court is, you know, probably not expected of him. But you just love to see those effort type plays where a guy goes out and helps his team. And for the Seahawks, you know, Budda Baker, or for the Cardinals, Budda Baker was going to walk this interception in for a touchdown. And they ended up getting no points, which ultimately didn't end up helping because the Cardinals won the game anyway after overtime. But man, yes, Mark, great pick to lead us off on fan favorites. Please go check out that DK Metcalf video. Ryan, I understand you're going back to an old friend we just talked about here for your fan favorite. Tell us about it.
My guy at the Zozo Championship, he ended up behind a tree. Everyone
Tiger
thought
Woods
he
is who we're talking about.
Yeah, Tiger. Sorry. Yeah, he ended up behind a tree. Everyone thought, okay, maybe he's just gonna punch it to the side and then putt from there, but he chose to go right through the tree. And I know myself, I've tried it, and I've ended up behind where I originally started.
Yeah.
So for him to punch it over the tree or through the tree and then end up like a foot or two from the hole was pretty impressive. I enjoyed
through the tree.
That. Yeah, he went through the leaves,
made a hole through
the branches. Yeah, basically, and then ended up like this close. So.
Wow.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to our last conversation, like, you know, your body can break down, but the game analysis and the smarts, that never goes away. So the wily veteran stuff from Tiger Woods. I mean, we just kind of talked about how he looked, but man, I'm really happy for Tiger Woods that he's still out there, like, competing, and, you know, he's an icon from when we were kids.
Definitely.
Certainly the first golfer I was aware of, almost definitely, and one of the ones I really looked up to as a kid. Maybe not so much when the drug abuse and the scandal stuff came out, but now, you know, I'm happy for him again. So great to still see him hitting those veteran, difficult shots to give himself a winning chance. Great pick there, Ryan. And then my pick, this is just something that made me laugh really, really hard, and I wrote it down. My fan favorite this week is Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles football for their absolutely blundering of the head coach hiring process. I think they've done it the worst way possible in history. So let me give you a little timeline. First game of the year is versus the University of Southern Alabama. Jay Hopson is the head coach. They lose that game 32-21 by 11 points, which is a little bit of a, you know, they were expected to win the game, but that's not a bad beat. Head coach Jay Hopson resigns. He's gone. Okay, here comes interim head coach Scotty Walden, a young 30-year-old, maybe a guy you can keep around for a long time. Nope, 2 weeks later, he accepts a job at Austin Peay University, a Division I FCS team in the Ohio Valley Conference. So he decided that was better than Southern Mississippi. So that's 2 head coaches down. We're 3 games into the season. And now assistant head coach Tim Billings is taking over, but the school has said they plan to hire a new coach in November, which would make it 4 head coaches in less than 6 games. And it's not going well, in case anyone is wondering. Their last game was a 56-35 loss to the storied historic program of Liberty University. So I don't know. That just kind of made me laugh. What the heck? How do you end up with 4 head coaches in one season? I just think that's such
Duncan,
an oddity.
you should apply.
I know. I could probably do it. They'd probably let me.
You might get a job.
It sounds like nobody else wants to do it. But yeah, Southern Mississippi, what a piece of crap. That sucks. I feel horrible. Can you imagine being a player on Southern Mississippi? Hey guys, I'm your new head coach. I'll be here for 1.5 weeks. And then
just revolving door, basically.
Yeah, it's just like, who do we got this week?
Hey.
Like, special guest head coach Matthew McConaughey this week, filling in. Yeah, I
Go on Indeed. You see the job listing. Southern Mississippi head coach position.
please apply.
Part-time.
All entrants accepted.
Seasonal job. Seasonal position.
Seasonal position. 1.5 weeks. So there you go. That's fan favorites. It's just an excuse to talk about the things we felt like talking about. And now we're gonna move into my personal favorite segment. Mark, you can't see the Photoshop I made, but I stole a picture off your Facebook. Photoshop you into something British.
Oh, dang.
So you'll see it when you see the
Yeah,
episode.
check it out. Yeah.
Play the music. This is Mark's Premier League report, the most in-depth segment about Premier League soccer in all the land. Mark joins us every week to give us a lowdown on what's happening across the pond. Mark, real quick, what happened in soccer?
Oh, did you play the music already?
I did. You guys can't hear it.
I got you. What happened this past weekend? The games, they were pretty bad. I was very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big matchup between Chelsea and Man U. I support Chelsea. I like them.
Yep.
Game ended in 0-0.
Awesome.
Super boring game. A positive was that Chelsea's new signing, they signed a new goalkeeper because their goalkeeper is absolute trash. I could probably play and save more shots than him. So the new keeper has kept 3 consecutive clean sheets, which is, that's big. That's big. Second big game was Leeds United versus Aston Villa.
Okay.
Aston Villa was undefeated in the Premier League so far, and Leeds beat them 3-0. My boy Patrick Bamford scored a hat trick, handing Aston Villa their first loss of the season.
Big news.
Big game.
Aston Villa going down.
Yeah, and then I always got to end off with my guy Son, Heung-min Son, Asian Player of the Year. Spurs versus Burnley. Spurs won 1-0. Son and Harry Kane, they linked up again. Harry Kane assisted Heung-min Son, not Harry Son. And a little fun fact, Kane and Son have now combined for the second most goals in Premier League history.
Whoa.
Behind legends Drogba and Frank Lampard. So
I know those guys.
Clap it up for my guy, Heung-min Son.
Heung-min Son.
Here we go.
Yeah, great Premier League report. This Leeds team, what do you see? Are we buying the stock? Are they legit, or was this
buying the stock?
Is this Aston Villa just sucking?
They got promoted from the lower division this past year.
Yeah.
So, they're kind of a Cinderella story. They play this play style. They high press, which is very risky, but it means they score a lot of goals if they get the opportunities. So, I don't know.
Dangerous. What's the name of the team?
Leeds United. Leeds. Yes.
All right. There you go. Leeds United. Keep an eye on them. There you go. That's our real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna play the music again. I love it. It's so great.
I'm excited. I want to see the graphic.
Yeah, you'll see when it goes up on YouTube. There you go. That's Mark's Premier League report. Everything you could possibly need to know about professional soccer in the great old glorious Britain. There you go. That's it. The end of that segment.
Best part of my week right there.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mark. Now let's move on to everybody's favorite part of the show, our draft of the week. There's another great logo I made for this. Pat myself on the back for putting this all together. Please, just another chance to say it. Go check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Marauder Morning. This is our first YouTube episode. I'll put a link on our show page on our website, cfmu.ca. So please go check it out if you want to go see our fresh young faces. But for right now, we've got our draft of the week. It is the best career comebacks of all time. We're talking about athletes who went into the stinker and came out more glorious than ever. Second acts to their careers. I guess we didn't decide on a draft order.
You can go Duncan goes first.
All right, I'll go first. Well, let's go in the order I have it. It'll go me, Mark, Ryan. I just decided. Sorry, Ryan. You get the stinker end. I mean, there's so many directions to go with this one. We've had like past drafts that have been like pick your best players from the NBA. That's pretty straightforward. There's a limited pool of guys, but here you could kind of go anywhere. And for my first pick, I'm gonna go with a tennis player, Andre Agassi, a famous guy from the '90s that some of your parents might know. He was a great tennis player. Kind of ended up having an existential crisis in the middle of his career because his dad forced him into tennis. His marriage to Brooke Shields fell apart, and he became addicted to crystal meth. But less than 4 years later, he returned and completed the career Grand Slam. And then to top it all off, he married Steffi Graf, another tennis player. So Andre Agassi, I just think, is an excellent redemption story. I don't know if you guys have anything.
Is he still taking crystal meth?
I don't believe so. I think he got clean.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think he got clean. And man, that's I knew Andre Agassi, but just in my research, I found out that crystal meth thing, which is insane. So way to go, Andre Agassi. Mark, your first pick.
Mine is not as as extreme as yours. I kind of just picked one that I've been following, which was Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Started off with a great career in Chicago, made a name for himself, and then he bounced around between Minnesota and Philly, and didn't have good years there. Very little success, and the media played him out to be just a really terrible teammate. And then you look at this year when he got traded to Miami, and like they ended up in the finals. He showed how great of a leader he is, how great of a teammate he is, and he put up great numbers. So that's my kind of best comeback. With like 2-3 years of having a rough time in the NBA, but
for sure, I didn't think he was coming back. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I thought he was done for.
Me too.
Yeah, great pick. He kind of had that weird donut hole in the middle of his career. 76ers, Timberwolves, kind of the end of his Bulls time. It was just weird. Yeah, it was weird, and it was all over the place, and nobody seemed to like him. And here he ends up with Miami, which looks like a great situation for him. Ryan, your first pick.
So my first pick, I'm taking it to golf. A man named Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan.
Some of you may know, some of you may not. He's a golf legend and Hall of Fame golfer who has his own line of clubs. So he had a career from 1938 to 1959. And he won 63 pro tournaments.
What the heck?
And so halfway through his career, in 1949, he had a collision with a bus.
Oh my God.
Because he drove to most of his tournaments. And it left him with a double fracture in his pelvis, a fractured collarbone, a left ankle fracture, a chipped rib, and a near fatal blood clots. And doctors basically told him, like, look, like, you're going to make it, but you're not going to be walking again, and you're definitely not going to be playing golf ever again. And 16 months after this horrific incident, he was back. He was trying to make it again. 1950, he was back in the tournament.
Wow.
And in 1953, he won 3 championships in 1 year.
Whoa.
So yeah, just an incredible story for somebody that was basically broken down and was able to make it back to sport.
Holy crap. Yeah, I was unfamiliar with Ben Hogan. I don't know many golfers from the 40s. But wow, what an interesting story. I'm going to have to go look that up afterwards. Ben Hogan is Ryan's first pick. And we move over to my second pick. And I am going to go with Michael Vick. Michael Vick is a guy, controversial. He was facilitating a dogfighting ring on a property he wasn't living in Virginia. And I always like to make that stipulation a little bit. He's still guilty, don't get me wrong. But he wasn't the one doing the dogfighting, which I think is kind of a common misconception. But he was facilitating it. He was absolutely guilty. He served his time in prison. He was a star player for the Atlanta Falcons. for a long time, 5 or 6 years, goes to prison for this dogfighting scandal, completely falls out of graces with everyone, and comes back and plays for the Eagles and doesn't win a championship or anything like that. But I think just the personal redemption is what attracted me to the Mike Vick pick here, guys. Any thoughts on Michael Vick?
Yeah, I know the whole situation is quite controversial, but he was a good player when he focused on football. So
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you can leave your sport, get mixed up in all this stuff, but then remove it and get back to where you were. It's a good story. So.
Yeah. No, we won't get too much into the ethics part of it. But yeah, great comeback for Mike Vick. Mark?
Great pick. Yeah, dang, my pick stories are not as extreme as your guys's. I picked Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry?
So I was just looking at like the timeline of his career. He spent like his first 6 years in the league, just no success. He was labeled as immature and not a good teammate, not a good leader. And then he got traded to the Raptors. First couple of years in the Raptors, also very little success. And then when him and DeRozan became a duo, like they kept losing to LeBron 3-4 years in a row. And then you just look at the championship season. I mean, like huge role, like leadership wise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like the numbers he put up, like one of the best defenders at the guard position in the league. And like now he's being debated and in the conversation for being in the Hall of Fame. So I think it's a really cool journey he's been on. So that is why I chose Lowry, hometown guy.
Right on. Toronto man. Yeah, I think it's interesting. He spent a bunch of years in Houston, where nobody remembers that he was. And had a great
Lowry.
Yeah, had a great second part of his career. Ryan, your second pick.
So unlike Mark, all my stories are actually feel good stories. I wanted to get away from the Jordans and all that. So my pick is in the NHL, Bobby Ryan. He was the 2019-2020 Bill Masterson's Trophy Award winner. For much of last season and much of this season, he didn't really play, and he signed a pretty big contract a long time ago, and people thought he was going to be a star in the league for a long time. So to just see him disappear was pretty absurd. And then so reports started to come out that he was suffering from alcohol abuse, but he was getting help. He was getting his life on track. He was figuring it out, and so he was finally able to come back. He was sober, and the game he came back, he was able to score a hat trick.
Wow.
And the fans loving it, and the whole Ottawa arena exploded, and it left him crying on the bench. So I mean, anytime you can do that, good for Bobby Ryan.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, another guy I haven't heard of because I'm not a hockey follower per se. But yeah, a couple of those. He reminds me of a guy named Darren Waller, who plays for the Raiders, who also had addiction issues and is now back playing. So those are awesome stories to hear. A good pick, Bobby Ryan, is Ryan's second pick. And now for my third and final pick. Man, I got a lot of directions I can go here. I'm thinking about Drew Brees. I have Ted Williams. I'm going to go with Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux,
okay.
The legend of the Pittsburgh Penguins, retired in 1997 after dealing with chronic back issues and lymphoma. He retired in 1997. He was immediately inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then 3 years later, he decides he's not done, comes back and plays 170 more games and leads the Canada national team to hockey gold in the 2002 Olympics. Maybe not the best comeback because he kind of walked away on his own, but I just think it's such a hilarious story I wanted to hit on, that he's in the Hall of Fame and actively playing hockey.
Just to build off that, I honestly think that Mario Lemieux, if he was healthy his entire career, that he would have ended up probably competing for the best NHL player to ever play the game. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's
really
he's another one of those guys who I was aware of at a very young age.
Yeah.
And
Pittsburgh.
awesome player. Let's move it along. Mark, your third inspiring story.
I don't know about inspiring with my last two picks. Dang, I was thinking of somebody. I didn't write down a third pick. Sean Livingston.
Sean Livingston, good
Yes.
one. That's a great.
Highly recruited 5-star player coming out of high
Yeah.
school. Came into the league and had a nasty injury. Like his knee just blew up.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was really bad.
It's the worst.
And yeah, like
It's
if
as
you guys
bad
want
as
to watch
that
the
Paul
video,
George one, like the Paul
yeah,
George leg
it was
injury. Those
probably
two
one of the
are shocking leg injuries.
it was gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like doctor said he probably won't be able to walk, and probably won't be able to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But he signed with the Warriors, won a couple of championships with them, and it's not like he was riding the bench. I mean, he played.
No.
Like he was coming off the bench, putting up points. And yeah.
Yeah, Sean Livingston was
Shout
by
out
far
him.
my favorite guy on those Warriors teams. Coming off the bench, he's so different from Steph Curry. Like he's so tall. He's a great passer. He plays inside, and yeah, that knee injury when he was playing for the Clippers at the time, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah, he just shatters his leg. So wow, yeah, great pick, Mark. Coming back for your third pick.
Thank you.
First two were
Thank
good.
you.
Your first two were good too, but that's a great one there. Sean Livingston. Ryan, your third pick to finish off the draft. You got the whole world in your hands.
My third pick, pretty inspiring woman, to be honest. I'm going to go with Bethany Hamilton.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys know this. She's an American professional surfer who had her left arm bitten off by a shark. And if you haven't watched the movie Soul Surfer, I watched that years ago, and I thought it was an amazing movie.
Yeah.
So the incident happened in 2003, and if I was her, I would, oh my gosh, I would probably end up like in a dark room, like never doing anything ever again. And
certainly never go near the ocean again.
Yeah, never. And so from 2003, just looking at her track record, 2004 first, 2005 first, 2006 fifth, 2007 first, 2007 again first. She was able to overcome such a horrific injury, and she's such an inspiration to so many people in the surfing community. So Bethany Hamilton, my third pick.
Yeah, Bethany Hamilton for sure was on my list. I thought about her during the research part. Yeah, I mean, none of the other people we've talked about had a limb bit off by a shark. That's just a whole nother level of having to come back. Even Sean Livingston, he still had his leg in some capacity, but getting it bit off by a shark is a whole nother game.
Great pick.
Yeah, very good pick, Ryan. Way to end us off. That is our draft. Best career comebacks, real quick. I had Andre Agassi, Mike Vick, and Mario Lemieux. I thought I wrote down Mario Chalmers for a second, which would be wrong. Mark had Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Sean Livingston. And Ryan had Ben Hogan, Bobby Ryan, and Bethany Hamilton. Ryan went into the weeds for this one. Attaboy. So that's our draft. That's the end of our show. We're going to end it right there. Guys, any parting words for the folks?
No, hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks for having us.
Right on. I think we went about like 10 minutes over, so I'm going to have to do some editing. But I think we're good. That's the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. As always, check us out on our website, cfmu.ca. You can search us up. We are called Marauder Morning. You can find us on YouTube now, youtube.com/Marauder Morning. The link will also be on our show page. Please go check that out. Hit us up on Twitter at 933CFMU. As always, we will be back next Monday to talk more sports with you. But for now, have a great week, and don't forget to stick around for more great content on CFMU. See you, everybody. All right.
Love that. Well done. Well done.